10 soul songs so goofy, so ridiculous, so absolutely absurd that you'd skip them if your cool friends walked in the room. But here's what the cool kids didn't know. These songs weren't just hits, they dominated. We're talking top 5 on the R&B charts. Number 1 across the country, selling millions. And if you're nodding right now because you remember hiding one of these from your friends while secretly playing it on repeat, you already know where this is going. Number 10, Kung Fu Fighting, Carl Douglas. Carl Douglas recorded this in 10 minutes as a B-side because he had studio time left over and needed something, anything to fill it. The song? Literally about doing kung fu moves on the dance floor while making huh and ha sounds. Producer Biddu didn't take it seriously. Douglas didn't take it seriously. The whole thing was supposed to be throwaway filler for the back of a single nobody would play. But here's what nobody saw coming. September 1974. Kung Fu Fighting hits radio. Biddu's sitting at home thinking maybe it'll get a few club plays. 2 weeks later, it's number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100, number 1 on the R&B chart. And it stays there. Then this happens. The song sells 6 million copies in the United States alone. At the time, it became the biggest selling single in Atlantic Records history. Bigger than anything they'd done. Bigger than anyone expected a novelty track about martial arts to go. And here's the part that makes this whole thing even more ridiculous. Douglas was a session singer from Jamaica. This was his first single. He recorded it because he needed rent money and Biddu needed a B-side. That's it. No strategy, no plan. Just 10 minutes in a studio making kung fu noises over a disco beat. But if you were at a wedding, a roller rink, a basement party, literally anywhere in 1974, you did the moves. You made the sounds. You probably told people you thought it was stupid while secretly knowing every single word. And you know what's worse? You still do. Because Kung Fu Fighting doesn't care if you think it's ridiculous. It just lodges itself in your brain and refuses to leave. 48 years later, you still hear huh and ha in your head when someone mentions it. That's a different kind of embarrassment. When the song you hid from your friends becomes the song everyone knows you loved. When the track you played alone in your room becomes the track that defined an entire year. And if you've ever pretended you didn't know all the words to a song you absolutely knew all the words to, you already understand. Number 9. The Hustle, Van McCoy and the Soul City Symphony. Van McCoy's partner, Charles Kipps, walked into Adam's Apple nightclub in New York in April 1975 and saw people doing a new dance. When he came back to the studio, he showed McCoy these moves, this partner dance that looked like ballroom mixed with disco. Van McCoy had 2.5 weeks to finish an entire disco album, so he moved fast. He wrote The Hustle in a day, got some of New York's best session players, Steve Gadd on drums, Eric Gale on guitar, Gordon Edwards on bass. And here's the wild part. The lead melody? A piccolo. Not a saxophone, not a guitar. A piccolo. The song's an instrumental, no lyrics. Just a piccolo melody over a groove that tells you exactly what to do. Hustle. But here's the thing about this track. It went number 1 on both the Billboard Hot 100 and the Hot Soul Singles chart. Sold over 1 million copies, won a Grammy for Best Pop Instrumental Performance. And suddenly, every wedding, every school dance, every family reunion, Every roller rink in America had people doing the hustle, whether they knew the actual steps or not. Then this part gets me. Van McCoy didn't even want to be known as a disco artist. He'd been writing and producing soul music for years, songs for Aretha Franklin, Gladys Knight, people who mattered. Then the hustle blows up, and suddenly that's all anyone wants from him. He spent the next 4 years trying to escape it, trying to prove he was more than one novelty dance track, trying to make people remember the other songs he'd written. But nobody cared. They wanted the hustle. Van McCoy died of a heart attack in 1979, 39 years old. And the hustle outlived him by decades. And if you've ever been at a wedding where this song came on and everyone, your grandmother, your uncle, that one cousin who can't dance but tries anyway, got on the floor to do a dance they barely remembered, you know the power of a song this silly. You can't fight it, you just do it. Because the hustle doesn't ask if you're ready. It doesn't care if you know the steps. It just starts and your body moves and suddenly you're in a line with strangers doing synchronized turns like you've been practicing your whole life. And that's what these songs do. They bypass your brain entirely and go straight to your feet. Let's look at the numbers. Only 9% of you are actually subscribed. Honestly, that's tough to see. Our team spends days hunting down archives and verifying every single fact just to tell these stories right. If you've made it this far into the video, you're clearly part of the community, so please hit subscribe. It costs nothing and helps us immensely. Now, for those already subscribed, very few of you have made the jump to our membership, and that's a hard pill to swallow because you're the ones who know our value best. If this channel has moved you or inspired you, consider joining. It's the price of one coffee, but it's the literal fuel for this channel. Let's keep this alive together. Back to the story. Number 8. Car Wash. Rose Royce. Norman Whitfield didn't want to make a disco movie soundtrack. He was a Motown legend. He'd produced Papa Was a Rollin' Stone, I Heard It Through the Grapevine, songs that mattered. But the money was good, and he figured he'd give his backing band Rose Royce some exposure while he was at it.
Come on and give us a play.
So he's watching a basketball game, eating fried chicken from a paper bag, and the idea hits him. He grabs the bag and starts writing. The song? About working at a car wash where the boss doesn't mind if you act a fool. He finishes the first draft in 15 minutes. On trash. Then this happens. January 1977. Car Wash goes number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. Number 1 on the Hot Soul Singles chart. Sells 2 million copies. The soundtrack wins a Grammy for Best Soundtrack Album. And suddenly Rose Royce, a band nobody knew existed 3 months earlier, is everywhere. But here's what makes this story even better. The whole movie almost didn't happen. The producers came to Whitfield with a basic plot and no script. He had to write the entire soundtrack for a film that hadn't been written yet. Just vibes and a concept. And out of that chaos came Car Wash. A song so simple it almost sounds stupid. Working at the car wash, work and work. That's the whole hook.
Let me tell you, it's always cool.
But if you were alive in 1977 and this song came on, you sang every word. The verses, the chorus, the weird middle part where the tempo shifts. All of it. And here's what gets me about this one. Norman Whitfield spent his career making sophisticated, layered, complex productions. Car Wash is none of those things. It's literally just working at the car wash repeated over some of the funkiest bass lines ever recorded. But it became his biggest commercial hit. The song he wrote on a fried chicken bag outsold everything else he'd done. And if you tried to tell people you liked his other work better, they didn't care. They wanted to hear about the car wash. That's the trick with these songs. They don't care about your taste. They don't care about sophistication. They just hit a groove so perfect that resistance becomes pointless. You can appreciate art. You can respect craft. But when Car Wash comes on, you're singing work and work, whether you want to or not. And that's not a flaw. That's the whole point. Number 7. Shake, shake, shake. Shake your booty. KC and the Sunshine Band. KC and the Sunshine Band were watching people dance in Miami clubs in 1976. They noticed something specific. When the beat hit just right, people would break loose and shake like Jell-O. Completely lose control, just move. So, KC, Harry Wayne Casey, and bassist Rick Finch sat down and decided to write about it. The concept? 4 words. Shake your booty. That's it. No deeper meaning, no metaphor, no hidden message about society or love or anything else. Just shake your booty till you just can't boogie no more. August 1976. The song drops. And here's where it gets ridiculous. It goes number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 for 1 week. Number 1 on the Hot R&B Singles Chart for 3 weeks. And it's playing everywhere. Radio, discos, block parties. Your cousin's basement on a system way too loud for a residential neighborhood. But here's the problem with a song this simple. You couldn't admit you loved it. Because what does that say about you as a person? That your favorite song is literally just Shake Your Booty repeated for 3 minutes over a bass line and some horns? Then somebody played it at your school dance, and you moved. Because your body doesn't care what your brain thinks is cool. And that's when you realized the trick. KC and the Sunshine Band weren't trying to make you think. They were trying to make you move. And if you're moving, you're not thinking about whether the song is good or bad or cool or embarrassing. You're just moving. But here's what makes this even better. Rick Finch said they got the idea from watching people do a dance called the bump. You'd bump hips with your partner in rhythm. Then someone would break loose and shake everything. So they took that moment, that specific second when someone stops being controlled and starts being free, and stretched it into 3 minutes. That's the whole song. 3 minutes of that 1 second when you stop caring what people think. And if you've ever been the person who said, I don't really dance, and then this song came on and suddenly you were moving, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Because you can fight a lot of things in life. A KC and the Sunshine Band bass line is not one of them. Number 6. Brick House. Commodores. The Commodores were in the studio in 1977, recording what would become their self-titled album. Then the equipment broke down. While they waited for repairs, bassist Ronald LaPred got bored and started jamming, just messing around with a groove. Drummer stepped in, guitar joined, and bit by bit they built this track. Producer James Carmichael heard it and said, "That's a song. Somebody write lyrics." Problem: nobody had any lyrics. So trumpeter William King took the track home and played it for his wife, Shirley Hannah King. She listened. Then she wrote the whole thing. A song about a woman built like a brick house. Measurements: 36, 24, 36. Stacked. That's a fact. It's goofy. It's specific. It's absolutely not something you'd play around people you were trying to impress. Yeah, but September 1977. Brick House peaks at number 5 on the Billboard Hot 100. Number 4 on the R&B chart, and suddenly it's everywhere. Walter Orange's deep voice, that bass line, those horns. And a hook that made every single person at every party yell, "Shake it down," whether they wanted to or not. But here's what makes this story wild. The Commodores didn't think it would be a hit. They thought it was too simple, too silly. They wanted Easy, their other single from the same album, to be the one people remembered. And Easy did well. It's a beautiful song. Lionel Richie on lead vocals, perfect for slow dances and quiet moments. But Brick House? That's the one people still play, because Easy makes you feel. Brick House makes you move. And when you're at a party, movement wins every time. And here's the thing about a song this direct. You can't misinterpret it. You can't overthink it. It's not subtle. It's not deep. It's about a woman who's built like a brick house, and that's the whole concept. No metaphor, no symbolism, just appreciation delivered with absolute clarity and a bass line that refuses to quit. And if you've ever been at a cookout, a wedding reception, any family gathering where this song came on and watched your uncle, who hasn't danced in 15 years, suddenly get up and start moving. You know the power of a song this straightforward. You know that feeling when a song is so ridiculous that trying to be too cool for it makes you look worse than just admitting you love it? That's Brick House. That's the whole Commodore strategy. And it worked every single time. Number 5. Boogie Oogie Oogie, A Taste of Honey. Janice Marie Johnson and Perry Kibble were playing an Air Force club somewhere in 1978. They gave everything they had. Full performance, energy, soul. The crowd, ice cold, unresponsive. Just sitting there like the band was background noise. After the set, Johnson was furious. She went back to her room and started writing. The concept? If you think you're too cool to boogie, you're wrong. Everybody here tonight must boogie. You are no exception to the rule. The title? Pure nonsense. Boogie oogie oogie till you just can't boogie no more. No meaning, no logic, just sounds that felt right. June 1978, the song drops. And here's what nobody, including A Taste of Honey, saw coming. 3 weeks at number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100, number 1 on the R&B chart, number 1 on the disco chart. Over 2 million copies sold, Capitol Records' first platinum single ever. Then they won a Grammy for Best New Artist in 1979. A band that 6 months earlier couldn't get an Air Force crowd to move was suddenly the biggest act in America. But here's where this gets complicated. Janice Marie Johnson played bass and sang lead on Boogie Oogie Oogie. Live, at the same time. That iconic slap bass line you hear? That's her while she's singing, while she's performing. And the song's message, written out of anger at a cold crowd, became the thing everyone loved. That command to move, to dance, to stop being too cool and just let go. But if you tried to be the person too cool to boogie when this song came on, the song won every single time. Because Boogie Oogie Oogie doesn't ask permission. It doesn't ease into it. It just hits you with that bass line and those horns, and suddenly you're moving, and you can't remember why you were trying to stand still in the first place. And here's what makes this whole thing even better. After Boogie Oogie Oogie, A Taste of Honey had one more top 10 hit, a cover of Sukiyaki. Then they broke up in 1983. Janice Marie Johnson went solo. The band dissolved. But Boogie Oogie Oogie never stopped. Wedding receptions, roller rinks, retro nights. The song just kept going. And if you were the person who said you didn't like disco but secretly played this on repeat, the song knew. Everybody knew. Because these songs don't care about your reputation. They care about your feet, and your feet always tell the truth. Number 4, Good Times, Chic. By 1979, Chic had already dominated disco with Le Freak. 6 million copies sold, the biggest single in Atlantic Records history. So Nile Rodgers and Bernard Edwards went back to the studio to do it again. Rodgers wrote Good Times the morning they recorded it. Just showed up, wrote out charts for everybody in the band, and started playing. Bernard Edwards walked in late. He heard what Rodgers was doing and asked the engineer, "What the hell is that?" The engineer said, "I don't know, something Nile wrote this morning." Then Edwards plugged in his bass, and Rodgers started screaming, "Walk," over the drums. Edwards understood. He walked the bass line. And in that moment, they created one of the most sampled, most copied, most recognizable grooves in music history. The song, Happy Days Are Here Again. Good times. Leave your cares behind. Pure escapism. Pure silly. Nothing deep. August 1979. Good Times hits number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. Number 1 on the R&B chart for 6 weeks. 5 million copies sold. And it becomes, for the second time in a row, the biggest selling single in Atlantic Records history. But here's where this gets wild. The same year Good Times drops, the Sugar Hill Gang is putting together Rapper's Delight. They need a backing track. So they loop Good Times in the studio just like DJs were doing at block parties. They rap over it. They even use the string hits from the original. Nile Rodgers doesn't find out until he's in a club months later and hears Rapper's Delight on the dance floor. He recognizes his own song immediately. He threatens to sue. Sugar Hill Records settles. Rodgers and Edwards get full writing credit on Rapper's Delight. No lawsuit, no precedent for sampling, just a settlement. And that decision, or lack of one, shaped the next 40 years of music. Because if Rodgers had sued and won, sampling might have ended before it started. Hip-hop might have developed completely differently. The whole landscape could have changed, but he didn't. And Good Times became the foundation for everything that came after. Queen's John Deacon used the bass line for Another One Bites the Dust in 1980. Hundreds of other songs sampled it, built on it, referenced it. And if you claimed you never danced to it, the receipts say otherwise. Because everybody did. Because Good Times, a goofy disco song about leaving your cares behind, hit at the exact moment when people needed permission to do exactly that. Number 3, Le Freak, Chic. New Year's Eve, 1977. Nile Rodgers and Bernard Edwards get invited to Studio 54 by Grace Jones. She's performing that night. She wants them there. They show up at the door. The doorman asks for their names. He doesn't have them on the list. Grace Jones forgot to tell the staff they were coming. The doorman looks at Rodgers and Edwards, 2 black musicians who've been making hits for months, and says something simple. Fuck off. Then he slams the door. Rodgers and Edwards go home. They're furious. They grab some champagne, open it up, and start jamming. And the first lyric that comes out? The exact words the doorman said. Fuck off. They write a whole song around it. Fuck off. repeated, angry, direct. Then they realize they can't say that on the radio. So fuck off becomes freak off. But freak off sounds terrible, clunky, wrong. So they try freak out, and suddenly it works. They finished the song that night, recorded a few weeks later, and Le Freak, written out of spite, champagne, and rejection, becomes the biggest hit of their career. September 1978. Lee Freak drops. It goes number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100, number 1 on the R&B chart, number 1 on the disco chart for 7 weeks, over 6 million copies sold. The biggest selling single in Atlantic Records history, until Good Times beat it a year later. But here's what makes this whole thing even more perfect. The song's about being rejected, about being told you're not good enough, not cool enough, not important enough to get into the club. And it became the most played song at Studio 54. The club that wouldn't let them in played their rejection anthem on repeat. Grace Jones, who forgot to put their names on the list, performed to their song. And if you were at Studio 54 or any club, any party, any basement, anywhere when Le Freak came on, you freaked out. Not because it was cool, because it was impossible not to. But here's the part that gets me. Rodgers and Edwards turned rejection into a party. They took being told fuck off and made it into a celebration so big that the people who rejected them had no choice but to play it. And that's the thing about these songs. They take moments of embarrassment, moments of anger, moments you'd rather forget, and turn them into something so undeniable that everyone else has to acknowledge it. You can shut the door on Nile Rodgers, but you can't shut the door on Le Freak. Number 2. Play that funky music. Wild Cherry. Wild Cherry were a hard rock band. That's all they did. Covered rock songs, played their own rock originals, filled clubs around Pittsburgh with loud guitars and drums. But it's 1976, and disco's taking over. Promoters don't want rock bands anymore. Club owners don't want rock bands. People don't want rock bands. They want dance music. They want funk. They want something they can move to. Wild Cherry's barely getting booked. One night, they're playing the 2001 Club on the north side of Pittsburgh. Mostly black audience, they're doing their rock set. And during a break, someone, either a patron or drummer Ron Beidel, depending on who's telling the story, yells at them, "Are you white boys gonna play some funky music?" Rob Parisi, the lead singer, grabs a pen, grabs a drink order slip from a waitress, and writes the whole song in 5 minutes. Literally, 5 minutes. On Trash. The song's about exactly what just happened. A rock band being told to play funky music and realizing that if they want to survive, they have to change everything. They record it. Send it to their label. The label says, "This should be a B-side to your cover of I Feel Sanctified." Then somebody at the label actually listens to it and says, "Wait, flip it. This is the A-side." September 1976. Play That Funky Music goes number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100, number 1 on the R&B chart. Platinum sales, the biggest funk rock crossover hit of the year. Wild Cherry, a band that couldn't get booked 3 months earlier, is suddenly everywhere. But here's the problem with being a one-hit wonder with a song this specific. You're stuck with it forever. Wild Cherry never had another top 40 hit. They released 3 more albums, nothing charted. By 1979, they broke up. Rob Parisi tried to move on, tried to make other music, tried to be known for something else, but he'll be play that funky music, white boy, until the day he dies. And here's what makes that complicated. The song's about adapting, about realizing the world changed and you have to change with it or disappear. It's about letting go of what you thought you were supposed to be and becoming what the moment needs. But Wild Cherry couldn't do that twice. They had one moment of perfect adaptation. Then they went back to rock, and the world moved on without them. And if you were embarrassed to love this song because it's literally about white boys playing funky music, you weren't alone. But you loved it anyway. Because sometimes the song you're ashamed of becomes the song that defines your whole summer. The song you deny in public and play on repeat when nobody's watching. And that's not a flaw. That's being human. Number 1. Got to Give It Up, Marvin Gaye. Marvin Gaye hated disco. Publicly. He told interviewers it lacked substance, soul, depth. He said it was empty music for empty people. He refused to make a disco album, but Motown kept pushing. They wanted him to chase the trend, make the hit, do what was working. So in December 1976, Marvin Gaye walked into his home studio, Marvin's Room, and decided if he had to make disco, he'd make fun of it. He brought in his brother Frankie, his girlfriend Janice Hunter. Random friends. They partied while he recorded. People talked, laughed, made noise in the background. He banged on a half-filled grapefruit juice bottle for percussion. Jack Ashford shook a piece of polystyrene to make that wobbly sound you hear in the track. The song? About being too shy to dance. About being a wallflower at a party until the music takes over and you lose your inhibitions. Marvin Gaye, one of the greatest vocalists of all time, the man who made What's Going On and Let's Get It On, made a parody. A joke. March 1977. Gotta Give It Up drops. It goes number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 for 1 week. Number 1 on the R&B chart for 5 weeks, interrupted twice by other songs but coming back to reclaim the top spot. Millions of copies sold, and the wildest part? It became his biggest disco hit. The song he made to mock the genre became the song that defined his late 70s run. But here's where this gets even better. Marvin Gaye was actually shy. He hated performing live. He'd stand on stage barely moving, uncomfortable in his own body, while singing these incredible songs about sex and love and freedom. He'd so got to give it up. This party track about overcoming shyness to dance was autobiographical. Even as a joke, it was true. He was singing about himself. The wallflower who made music that made other people move. And if you go back and watch footage of Marvin Gaye performing this song, you can see it. The discomfort, the awkwardness, the man who's telling everyone to let loose but can barely let himself go. Then in 2013, Robin Thicke releases Blurred Lines. Massive hit. Sounds a lot like Gotta Give It Up. The groove, the vibe, the party atmosphere, all of it feels familiar. Marvin Gaye's family sues for copyright infringement. In 2015, a jury agrees. Awards over $7 million to Gaye's children. And suddenly this joke song, this parody Marvin Gaye made because he was forced to do disco, becomes a landmark legal case that changes how music copyright works. But here's what kills me about this whole story. Marvin Gaye made fun of disco and created one of the best disco songs ever recorded. He tried to mock the genre and ended up defining it. And if you were too cool for disco in 1977, but secretly loved this track, that's exactly what Marvin Gaye was singing about. Being a wallflower until the music wins. It always wins.